Hey, everybody. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a really enriching day today with some of the sessions that we have here, attending the breakout sessions, the mini sessions. I hope you checked out the exhibition hall. We had a really cool ride and drive with Arkimoto. Woo woo, yeah, okay. So quick agenda rundown so we're all on the same page. I am thrilled and excited to announce Reverend Yearwood. He's blessing us this afternoon. We'll also be presenting, at the conclusion of his address, we will be presenting our 4th Roadmap Awards, and then we'll be heading to the Expo Hall for the networking reception. Cool. So today's keynote speaker, Reverend Lennox Yearwood Jr., is the president and CEO of the Hip Hop Caucus, and is a minister, a community activist, and one of the most influential people in hip hop political life. He leads tireless efforts to encourage the hip hop generation to utilize its political and social voice. He's a national leader, a pacemaker within the Green movement. Rev Yearwood has been successfully bridging the gap between communities of color and environmental issue advocacy for the past decade. So please join me in welcoming Reverend Yearwood.
I gotta carry him. Yeah, I'm gonna go into this.
Hey, oh man, I love it. This is America. You can't beat that kind of intro, particularly not right now. Well, how are y'all doing? Y'all are doing okay? That was kind of weak, kind of applause there, though. Okay. I was going to have to put a charging station in the back of the room here. Plug some of y'all in, see what could happen. It's really an honor to be here. I have a lot of folks to just say hello to, but I wanted to start off with literally that last thing I mentioned in regards to EV charging stations. If you've ever heard my podcast, I do a podcast called The Coolest Show. Hope you have listened to it. If you haven't listened to it, please tune in. It's actually, they tell me it's now one of the top environmental justice podcasts in the country. So that's actually very exciting in that aspect. And so I went to a barber shop one time to talk about charging stations and electric vehicles. Predominantly, it was all black barbershop. Everybody in barbershop except for the barbers. The barbers themselves were like 70. And everybody in the barbershop was like 80 or 90. And I went into this barbershop to talk about climate change and EVs. And so it was a tough audience, a little bit, kind of, sort of. It was tough. And so I went in there, and then I somehow, they caught on to the word range anxiety. And I'm not sure why, and they was like in the back, and I was like trying to explain, 'cause I took a trip in an EV, and I was trying to say that, and making sure you get a charging station. And so I mentioned range anxiety, and then one of the people in the back said, huh? What did he say? I think they said the Reverend's got anxiety. I'm like, no. I don't have anxiety. I have range. He said, what did he say? I think he said he has anxiety. I said, no, I don't have, it's range anxiety. They said, what? They said the Reverend's talking about he has ED. I said, no, I don't have ED. That's not what I'm talking about here. He has anxiety over something going on. Why, what is he talking about? This is about climate change he was going to talk about. And the Reverend is talking about his personal life in here. I said, no, I'm not talking about. So I understand that this is a hard issue to talk about, right? It's something that it's not on the lips, on the forefront of the conversation, what is going on. And so that is the first challenge that we have to overcome in this process. is that we are talking about something that is so critical to our existence that we need, but at the same time, it's a conversation that is not happening throughout our country. So what happens there is that when you come to these types of gatherings, it's exciting because you're around people who want to have this conversation. It's so, I'm meeting someone who wants to talk about the same thing that I want to talk about. But when you leave here, that isn't the case. So the first thing, if you do nothing else, in building power and trying to create change, which you're doing, is that you first have to be good storytellers and use narrative to tell the story of what needs to be done. Because people are not understanding right now the situation that we're in. I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna talk about, obviously, equity and the connection between racial justice and electrification and EVs. I'm gonna get to that. And those may be some hard conversations in my short time, because that is, when you talk about race, obviously, and the economics and poverty, it gets sometimes tough. So I wanna come to that. Before I get to that tough stuff, let me get to some good stuff. Tomorrow, at the Supreme Court, now Arya said, Rev, you mentioned good stuff. You went right back to tough stuff. Well, yes and no. Tomorrow at the Supreme Court at 12 noon, our amazing country that I had the pleasure of serving as an officer in the Air Force, our amazing country will swear in Ketanji Brown Jackson. At 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock Pacific Time. And that's an important moment because it means as a country that, particularly for me, understanding how important it is for particularly black women and women, that shows that we are moving forward. I believe, side note, that our movement will be successful if it is run by a BIWOC leaderful movement, a black, brown, indigenous, women of color movement. I actually believe that we will be much more successful when black women, brown women, trans women are leading this movement. Until that time happens, we probably have a little bit more work to do. But on the flip side of that anxiety, I also know that tomorrow we are also dealing with the fact that we will be having an announcement that will probably change how we have been doing work for years. That West Virginia versus EPA ruling will come out before that historic piece comes forth, gutting the Environmental Protection Agency, gutting how we know government works. I know many of you are here today in government. Thank you. I was obviously in government when I was in the Air Force. Thank you for your time, what you're doing, but life may change tomorrow. It may become much harder to hold those accountable and measurable, particularly those who are polluting our communities. Buckle your seatbelts, because that is what is happening. So while we have good news on one side, we also have a situation where there's those who are trying to roll back this country in ways that we cannot imagine. So let me just get to here. I want to make sure I get my points out, that you get them before I get finished. If you have not been following the Twitter, how many have you been following the Twitter hashtag? None of you. My goodness, that's terrible. We not gonna make it. I thought we was going. I mean, none of y'all even clapped for that at all. I mean, I didn't even. So, man, I just probably got the social media person. I don't know what I would get done. I didn't even get anybody in trouble here, but None of y'all clap. Are y'all online at all? Have y'all heard of something called Instagram, by the way? I just want to make sure. Y'all just want to get charging stations. Yeah, you heard that? Okay. TikTok? It's not a thing on a clock there. It's actually a social media thing. iPhone, you heard of that? You heard of that? Okay, good. Actually, today's actually the 15-year anniversary of the iPhone. Can you imagine that? That's amazing, right? That's actually going to be part of my spiel. But I want to make sure you get this in right here. So I got this information. So part of the Greenlining Institute today, and part of discussion, they had these 4 points. They had 4 considerations for equity in charging infrastructure. And I want to lay it out there because it was as good as you can get. And the first thing they said, number one, what we need to do is define and operationalize equity, number one. Number two, we need to look at the benefits to people, not place. Number three, we need to remove barriers to green economy. And number four, we need to integrate climate resilience as a key issue. I want to even go further on. Many of you were texting me and sending me notes. I never got more notes to add in my speech than this conversation here at Fourth. Thank you. People were telling me, but they were very good notes. I just want to give a shout out here to Earthworks. And yeah, give a shout out to Earthworks, y'all. And Earthworks made a comment to me. They said, Rev, you got to make sure to talk about how we can be in solidarity with workers and communities around the world, particularly when it comes to a clean energy and just process regarding mining. And so they said, because we have mining is obviously a part, and they just said, Rev, make sure you tell them that, and to ensure that the minerals in electric vehicles, EVs, batteries, are sourced respectably and responsibly. Recycling can offset much of the demand. Reducing the need for new mining is critical. They said we must require better safety design that allows for easy reuse and recycling of minerals. We must understand that this impacts particularly people of color and indigenous communities. We must have clean energy, not dirty mining. So, I just want to make sure to give, yes. So what I wanted to kind of make sure to leave, that was the piece. I'll make sure to get those bullet points across, so you got those, and so that's on record now. The piece I wanted to tell you, though, is this. I've been in this movement for quite some time, and to just get right to the point, I'm originally from Louisiana, and when I went through with Louisiana, my home state was that, I went through Hurricane Katrina almost 17 years ago, and then last year went through Hurricane Ida, literally on the exact same day. In that process, I saw one of the worst things in my life. Literally, I was actually in D.C. when it hit, but I saw literally seeing your family and friends drowning in the richest country in the world. And since that time, since August 29th of 2005, I've literally taken my position now as president of the Hip Hop Caucus, and even further on, because I realized that particularly BIPOC and EJ groups weren't getting the funding. And so I decided I had to get into that world as well, because we saw, for instance, from the New School survey, that out of the 12 top funders who do funding around this work, they gave out in 1 year $3.3 billion. Out of that $3.3 billion that went out of those 12 foundations, only 1.3 million went to BIPOC organizations. And so that disparity, I'm going to make sure I get that right if I get this correct. $3.3 billion in 1 year, and out of that, only 1.3% went to BIPOC, EJ-led organizations. So as they're calling for a Justice 40 initiative, for us, we don't even have a Justice 40 initiative within our own movement. So I just wanted to highlight that, and so with that, I've started working with a number of foundations. So I'm happy to say I'm the senior advisor for Bloomberg Philanthropy, and I'm also working with Google and other founding forces to help that part get right as well. But this is, yes, definitely. Please do not bum rush me to knock me over with a grant proposal right after the proposal. You know, you can knock me down in the hallway, and then, but not right after this draft. This little side note of housekeeping in that one. You know, but in that process, what I wanted to bring up, in this work that I've been doing for years, the one thing that I've noticed is this. In 2009, on August 4th to be exact, it was President Barack Obama's birthday. The President asked Hip Hop Caucus, and me in particular, to launch his Green campaign from the White House. It was an honor. It was there with Lisa Jackson from EPA at the time and Sean Donovan from HUD, and we launched from the Rose Garden of the White House. I was there. It's kind of neat because I launched the campaign at the Rose Garden, and then a few weeks later I got arrested outside the White House for the Keystone. So that's actually my life, to be honest, in that aspect. So, but we launched a campaign called Green the Block. I bring this up because at the time Van Jones was inside and we were doing this campaign, and this is the thing. When we were doing this campaign at that time, I was trying to plead with many of the folks in the industry to say, listen, we have to do so much work because solar is coming out. If we do not ensure that our community is up to speed, knowing what will happen, it will backfire. Many of us want to move fast because it's the moment right now. But we're moving so fast that we will move fast and we will leave people behind and we'll be out there by ourselves. I see that same thing right now in regards to EVs and recharging electrification. I see every one of you are so excited to have new resources and new ways to put money into communities, but you are running so fast, you are leaving the community behind. And you are going to find yourself all out there by yourself. If that's the case, the other side, who doesn't want you to succeed, will pick you off. They will find you and they will realize you are out there by yourself, all by yourself, and they will realize that you are not surrounded by the community who you are supposed to ensure that these charging stations, electrifications, and EVs are in place for them. They will then call you a fraud, call you mismanaging those opportunities, and then they will be in a situation in which the movement we have now will fail. That is exactly what took place. Because right after we launched in 2009 with Green the Block, I actually went out there, because I'm in Hip Hop Caucus, I got a few friends here and there. I went out there to get my buddy Drake. He was like, I'm with it. You with Greenlining? Yeah, I'm with it. So I got Drake involved, and we did some campaigning with that. We did some cool things, but they were moving so fast, they couldn't slow down for what needed to happen. This is what happened. Fast forward a couple years later. Then we had in 2010 this legislation to put forth called the Waxman-Markey, the ACES legislation, and they were still leaving the community behind. Guess what happened when we had legislation? That legislation failed. Fast forward 10 years later, almost to the day, we then bring forth new legislation, Build Back Better, but we still have not brought forth our community. And guess what's happening now? We are not winning on the issues because we are not building a movement big enough and broad enough to succeed. If you are serious about what you are trying to accomplish while you are here, if you want to do more, now I know we just got finished a pandemic, so we wanted to be anywhere, to be honest, I understand that. But if you are serious about doing things to really implement real solutions in our community for our infrastructure, that is going to require you to slow down and educate, and also require you to broaden your movement and also required to understand that the issue of electrification and EV is an issue of climate justice and racial justice. And racial justice is climate justice, and they're all connected together, which means you're going to have to be uncomfortable and slow down and have some real serious conversations that are awkward and are disturbing and don't feel good. Because when you roll out the map and you begin to select places where EV chargers can go, and you realize that these places don't even have grocery stores, and don't have schools, and don't have the right mechanisms, and they don't have the infrastructure, it will take much longer to put them in those places. It'll be so easy to skip those places and understand why they were what they are to begin with. You have to have that hard conversation. But before you can put anything to charge a car, you must first charge the community that you want to put the charging station to begin in. There's no way you can do that without having that hard conversation. Not in this moment, not in this time. I so wish, because I understand how critical it is in regards to where we are in this crisis called climate change, and where we are in this crisis even called America. I understand where we are. And as a parent, as a father, as a responsible person in my community, I fear where we are. I understand we're dealing with a fossil fuel industry that does not want to transition. They would be great if they were at the table, and they would be respectable and they could be honest, but they're not doing that. That is not in the cards. And so we have to understand that they are not willing to be a responsible partner at the business table. As a matter of fact, their business plan means a death sentence for many of the communities that we are trying to empower. So we have to understand that. But I still believe that we can bring us together to create that change. So let me just conclude with this, where we are right now. We're in a critical moment where I understand where you will say to me, Rev, with you, got you. I want us to slow down. I understand that I didn't come from these communities. I don't even speak the language. And I understand what you're saying here, that to be successful, so we don't have the same problems, we need to slow down, have the hard conversations to really build up so we can move forward. So we are not here 15 years from now. That's what you're saying. I got that part. But Rev, this is the part I want you to answer for me. Sure. How do we train and fight at the same time? How do we train and fight? Because I don't know how to do that then. Because you're asking me then to slow down, okay? I get that. You're asking me to look at communities. I understand that. How do you train and fight at the same time? This is how you do it. And this is when I get to be, and I don't care where you come from. I'm here for humans, understand that. So I'm here for black, white, brown, red, male, female, straight, gay, theist, atheist. I'm here for just a human conversation. So please understand, that's what I'm here for. This is for humanity. We have no choice but to train and fight at the same time. Because if we don't do it, and we don't do this thing right now, in 2022, we will not succeed. When I walked in here, I saw an amazing statue of Dr. King. And if you saw it, and it said the dream. We must have a dream too. So that one day when we look back, next year actually marks the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington. when Dr. King gave his famous I Have a Dream speech, he says, that we'll be free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we'll be free at last. Well, here we are, folks. If we do what's right, 60 years from now, my goodness, I can't imagine what this world looks like, but 60 years from now, if we do it right, and we get this whole process correct, then that generation won't just say free at last about equality. They'll be talking about we saved ourselves from extinction. And that generation, if you come into these conference halls and you really go to work, and fourth, you do what you got to do, then that generation will say, not only will say thank you, but that generation will rise up and say, because they did what they had to do, and now we say, fossil free at last. Fossil free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are fossil free at last. Carry on, y'all. All power to the people.
Thank you, Reverend. Fossil free at last. Okay. I love that. All right, y'all. Now we're going to head into the Roadmap Awards. The president, our board president and fourth, Tim Miller, will be presenting these awards. Come on up, Tim. Okay.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Tim Miller, and I'm very proud to serve as board president of Fourth, the great organization that has brought us all together today, and a great leader who, Jeff Allen, who now I realize why he asked me to do these awards, because he didn't want to follow the Rev. Jeez. All right, so the Roadmap Awards recognize individuals, companies, and organizations for their contributions to advance electric, shared, and smart transportation in the categories of private sector leadership, community partnership, research, and career achievement. So this year we have a great selection of winners, and first, right off, I'm going to go quickly here because we want these folks to be able to say a few words as well. First, we have a Private Sector Leadership Award awarded to General Motors for being one of the first and largest legacy OEMs to commit to phasing out gas cars by 2035. That's awesome. GM has also invested in charging and new mobility solutions. General Motors Director of EV Policy, Michael Mayton, is here to accept the award. Michael, come on up.
Thanks, Tim. On behalf of General Motors, I'm honored to accept this award from the Roadmap team. It's great to be recognized as a leader in the smart transportation industry. We've been engaged with Fourth and coming to this conference for several years now, and it's wonderful to see how it's grown from a smaller regional event into one of the industry's leading annual conferences. As you know, GM is committed to making an all-electric future with everybody in. You mentioned our commitment to eliminating tailpipe emissions from our light-duty vehicles by 2035. To do that, we're making massive investments in vehicles, batteries, charging infrastructure, and supply chain to enable this future. We're working hard to offer EVs for every price point, style, and utility so that no one is left behind. From the Bolt EV and EUV to the Cadillac Lyriq to the BrightDrop Zevo 600 delivery van available now, to the Equinox, Blazer, Silverado EVs coming next year, we will truly have a complete EV portfolio for every taste and lifestyle. In addition, we're dedicated to addressing all of the barriers to EV ownership. We're investing nearly $750 million in charging infrastructure through our Ultium Charge 360 ecosystem. Our announcement last week about our product's plug-in charge capabilities is just one more example of making EVs simply easier for people. We're also committed to bringing our workforce, our dealers, and the communities where we operate across the U.S. along with us in this transition, so it's truly an everybody-in approach. We all need to work together to make our EV future a reality. Forth is a key ally in this effort, and everyone in this room has a key role to play. So we at GM look forward to working with all of you as our EV product, infrastructure, and autonomous efforts continue to accelerate. Thank you again.
All right. Put my computer wakes back up here. So, oh, I love this. It has to wait a second because the wrong apps are up. Come on now. All right, folks. Here it comes. I guess I should have memorized all this. The next, I better do this right. Let me get the script up here. You know, you buy a new computer and you hope it's going to be really fast and good and all that. Not necessarily. Okay, so our next award is the Community Partnership Award, and we're proud to present this award to the Greenlining Institute for their many tireless efforts. Greenlining Institute. All right. For their tireless efforts in advancing transportation electrification in equitable ways. And accepting the award, Deborah Gorman, President and CEO, is here to accept the award. So Deborah, please come on up. There you are.
Thank you. Yes, and thanks to Fourth Mobility, who's been a partner with the Greenlining Institute for a while. Thank you, Rev, for shouting out the organization, acknowledging Leslie, who spoke. We've got the principles, we got the framework, so amen, corner over here. And let me just say, at Greenlining, you know, we've been doing racial equity, economic equity, and climate equity for the last 30 years. And it's been our staff who's really terrific at it. So I do want to shout out the staff that's here. So Ramon and Isa and Hannah and Leslie and Mimi, who's going to be speaking tomorrow. So stay tuned. We're all in on the conference. Also, we have a community of practice that we have engaged and we brought here in partnership with Fourth. So want to acknowledge the folks from Colorado, Illinois, Michigan, North Carolina, and Virginia who are doing the community practice. So if you want some people who are doing the long work in communities slowly and deliberately, see those folks in those states. And so then lastly, I would say there are 4 things that are strategies that we're using at Greenlining. Policy and practice for sure, innovation, investment, and movements. And make no mistake, we are a movement right now. We're having an electric vehicle movement, and the movement will be successful if we all just hold on to the rope, right? We're in a tug-of-war with industry, we're in a tug-of-war with culture, we're in a tug-of-war with the world. So don't let go of the rope before we have our breakthrough. So hold on to the rope. Greenlining's holding the rope with you. It is a long haul, but we are really seeing the moment being present. So with that, I'd like to say thank you for the recognition and continued success to you all in the community.
Thanks, Deborah.
Thanks so much, Deborah. Okay, the third award is the Research Award, which goes to the Union of Concerned Scientists. All right. So the Union of Concerned Scientists is being awarded for their advocacy and research work, including their highly cited comparison of gas to electric car emissions, which have really helped lay the foundation for electrification. Unfortunately, they weren't able to be here to receive the award in person, So they have sent this short video covering their acceptance. So let's fire up that video.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joanna Chow-Krylik, and I am the president of the Union of Concerned Scientists. Today, I am so grateful to accept the 4th Roadmap Research Award on behalf of our clean transportation team here at UCS. It's a real honor to have our work recognized in this way, and we're so grateful to have the chance to express our appreciation virtually. While we weren't able to join you all in Portland this year, we wish you all the best for what we know is another wonderful gathering. The 4th Roadmap Conference has become the event over the past several years for anyone who cares about crafting a better, smarter future for transportation. And I know our clean transportation team has valued meeting other researchers, policymakers, industry leaders, and practitioners at the conference in recent years. The chance to share scientific analysis, participate in the excellent panels, and make new connections has been invaluable. Rigorous, independent science is at the heart of our mission at the Union of Concerned Scientists. And reducing pollution from cars, trucks, and buses has been a top priority for us. So the recognition of this inaugural award has been just a wonderful affirmation of our contribution to the kind of transportation solutions that are so dearly needed by people on the planet. Thank you for the opportunity to share these words. Congratulations to the other honorees. And thank you for recognizing the work of my brilliant, passionate colleagues who have dedicated themselves to putting science at the center of safe, clean, and equitable transportation for all.
All right, finally, we're down to our last award, and this is a big one, the Career Achievement Award. And this award goes to Representative Peter Defazio for his long career of leadership on transportation and infrastructure and his tireless work to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law. Unfortunately, Congressman Defazio was unable to be here today and asked us to read a letter on his behalf. But first, let's hear it for Representative Peter Defazio. So I have this nifty letter here on really fancy letterhead, Congress of the United States, House of Representatives. So I'm going to read this quickly. Dear Jeff and attendees of 4th's 2022 Roadmap Conference, I'm sorry I can't be with you today, but I want to express my great appreciation to 4th for honoring me with its Roadmap Career Achievement Award. For many years, the team at 4th has worked tirelessly to electrify transportation by bringing people together, that's you all, to create solutions that reduce pollution and barriers to access. Now, thanks to the passage of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, we are about to see the implementation of policies and historic investments that will support electric vehicles and reduce carbon pollution from the transportation sector for years to come. As I'm sure you know, just a few of the highlights of the IIJA include, and you've heard about these numbers all day today, but let me go through them one more time, because there are a lot of them. $7.5 billion for EV charging and alternative fuel infrastructure, $6.4 billion over 5 years for the Carbon Reduction Formula Program, which will fund a variety of emission-reducing activities, including electrification, diesel engine retrofits, bicycles, pedestrian access, and operational improvements. $5.25 billion over 5 years for electric and low-emission transit buses to replace aging diesel buses. $5 billion over 5 years in rebates for school bus electrification, with a priority on replacing buses serving low-income, rural, and tribal schools. $2.5 billion for low-carbon ferries and to assist states with operational costs for essential rural ferries. And in addition, electrification will be eligible under several discretionary grant programs, including RAISE, Infra, and a new $400 million port emissions reduction program. The IIJA expands eligibility for electric charging infrastructure and the electrification of medium and heavy-duty vehicles within existing Federal Highway Administration formula programs. On top of this investment, the IIJA will invest $73 billion in electric power and improving the grid. So Representative Defazio says, I look forward to seeing these investments bring forth incredible changes, and following your good work, to change the future of our nation's transportation system in the coming years. With kind regards, Peter Defazio. So let's hear it for Peter Defazio. Okay, so that wraps up the 2022 Roadmap Awards, and I have a minute and 25 seconds, so what should we do at this time? Again, please join me in congratulating the winners. Thank you for joining us in person to congratulate these amazing companies, organizations, and individuals. Thanks, sir. And now we're going to hear just a few words from our reception sponsors. Let's get ready for that and the fun of the reception. So reception sponsors, y'all ready to come up?
Hello. I know I stand between all of you and happy hour, so I'm going to make this upbeat and pretty quick. My name is Brian Baird. I'm the Director of Energy and Sustainability at Core States Group. We build and design and permit EV infrastructure projects all across North America. And a few conferences ago, I would always do the ride and drives. But I didn't do that today because I don't need to anymore. Your work and our work in this industry has made it that every day can be an EV ride and drive for so many. That is something to celebrate. That is something to have a drink over and be proud of. We are building the cars. We are providing the power. We are developing the chargers. We are changing the policy. We are improving public perceptions. And in Core State's case, we are designing and building hundreds of charging projects across North America for publics and for fleets behind the fence. This organization, our organization's work has made this a reality. We are building the future, and I am proud to be doing it with each of you. That said, there's a lot more work to be done: cost, equity, reliability, and more. But I believe we have momentum on our side, and that is something to celebrate and have a beer over, so have one on us. Thank you.
I also thought that I'd be doing this next to a bar, so this is very impromptu. Hello, my name is Tyler Phillip. I am the CMO of Flex Charging. There's a few of us in the room. If you can wave, we've got Charles and Harold and Ken. Over there, great. So we all know that the number one cause of greenhouse gas emissions comes from transportation, with about 29%. But the number two cause of that comes from electricity production. The last thing we want is for all these great improvements in electrification to go directly onto a dirty grid from power that's carbon intensive. So at Flex Charging, we take that very seriously. We adjust when the car charges to the time that's best for the planet and for consumers and for the grid. We do this remotely through software. We talk to the cars remotely, so no matter where it goes, no matter what charger it plugs into, even if it's a level 1 or level 2, we make sure that it's not hurting the planet, the grid, or your pocketbook. If you want to know how we do that, go find one of these wonderful young gentlemen here or talk to me over a beer. I'll hope to see you there. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Marshall McGrady, and I am a member of IBEW Local 48 here in Portland, Oregon. There we go. Yeah, we can give it up for that. We represent about 5,500 electrical workers in Northwest Oregon and into Southwest Washington. We've been a proud supporter of Fourth for many, many years. And I will keep my remarks very short because, of course, I really am the last person between you and happy hour, so we'll go quickly on this. Just a couple things about us. You've probably seen a little bit about this and maybe even heard a couple terms. IBEW is the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. It's about 750,000 electricians across this country, and that's union electricians that are the best trained electricians that you will find in either North America or Canada. So by all means, as you're looking for your future labor needs, we ask that you look to the IBEW. You might have also heard the term EVITP. EVITB is the Electrical Vehicle Infrastructure Training Program. That is a nonprofit group that certifies that the workers that you folks get are going to give you the absolute best installation for your EV and your EV chargers. I will say one thing in regards to that. As we make this transition and we really will see the EV industry bloom over the next several years, it's imperative that we ensure that those installations are done correctly. If we put in a substandard product, the public is not going to adopt EVs, and we absolutely have to get our transportation in line to get our planet in line for a greener tomorrow. Thank you so much. The beer's on us. It's right through in the exhibit hall there. Have a great evening, everyone.